Sup, ID. Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 7 of our Lao learning sessions. This is lesson 7. And this week we're going to cover Lao pronouns. Now we're taking a little bit of a break between our consonants and our vowels. And we're going to go over pronouns because pronouns will help us to be able to form short phrases using some of the nouns or the vocabulary words that we learned with our consonants. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to note about the English grammar is in English grammar incorporates several types of pronouns. When we speak in English, many things are either implied or directly stated. We use pronouns to replace literal noun names, so as a substitution. Now, when we use pronouns in English, we either use a singular or a plural pronoun, depending on the number of nouns being replaced. So if it's medicine that we're talking about, one bottle of medicine, we may use a singular pronoun to replace that bottle of medicine. But if it's many bottles of medicine, then we're going to use a plural pronoun to replace the bottles of medicine. So we might say it for one bottle or they for many bottles. Okay, it is on the table or they are on the table. Okay, referring to the bottles of medicine. So we also use pronouns in different forms depending on the function in the expression or the phrase that we're making. So for instance, there are subject pronouns and object pronouns. Okay, so we'll see the difference between those in a few minutes, but that's an example of different forms of pronouns depending on the function in the statement. And then we have formal or a familiar tense in English that we don't really pay attention to. It's more implied. So when we're speaking to someone that we're familiar with, we say things one way. We may say the exact same statement with a whole different implied level of respect. For instance, if we're talking to a police officer, like for instance in the example, we have, I saw the car pass me. So to my mother, I would say, I saw the car pass me, and there's no issue with that statement. I can say the same statement to a police officer, I saw the car pass me, and my body language, my facial expression, my stance, and everything about how I'm saying that sentence implies a certain level of respect. Even my tone of voice may imply a certain level of respect, okay? But we don't change the pronoun for I or me in either of those sentences. In English, we use the same pronouns, I and me. I saw the car pass me. But in Lao, it's a little bit different. And we'll get to that in a moment. In English, there's 8 types of pronouns. Now, whether you remember that or not, kind of surprised me when I went back and reviewed that there are 8 different types of pronouns. The ones that we're going to focus on are the personal, subject, and object pronouns. So in Lao is a social and family hierarchy class language, meaning depending on where you fit in the class structure, the class hierarchy or the family hierarchy will depend on how you refer to either yourself or the person that you're speaking to. Okay, and it will define which pronouns you're going to use for yourself or for others. All right, so it depends on your relationship with the person or the group with whom you're speaking. The pronoun may depend on whether it's a formal or familiar relationship. Is it someone like your peer? Is it a guest that you know very well? Is it a judge? Is it a police officer? Okay. Is it a stranger? Okay. With those 3, you're going to have a formal relationship. With someone that you know very well, it's a familiar relationship. Pronouns also depend on the age or the status or social position of the person. Pronouns also depend on whether it's a singular or plural person or object that you're either talking to or talking about, that you're using the pronoun to substitute. Okay, so the pronoun is either going to be singular or plural, just like in English, I or we, meaning more than one person, or I being just one person. And then it also, some pronouns depend on your attitudes towards the person to whom or of whom you're speaking, and we'll see that a little bit later. So we have a few examples. If you're talking to your mother and you're talking about yourself, you would say, I saw the car pass me. I and me are singular. You're talking to your mother, so it's a familiar relationship. Again, if you're talking to a police officer, I and me, those are the pronouns. Those are singular. Talking about yourself, just one person. But now it's a formal relationship, so in Lao you would use possibly a different pronoun. You could use a different pronoun to refer to yourself as I or me. Again, plural, we saw the car pass us. We and us are plural. You're talking to your mother, so it's a familiar relationship, or you might be talking to your peer, okay, or a friend, okay. So it's a familiar relationship. But if you're talking to a police officer and you're giving a report of what you saw, we saw the car pass us, we and us are plural, but because it's a formal relationship that you have with that police officer, you would use a different form of we or us, possibly. Okay, so those are just examples. Okay, and then now we're going to actually see how that fits in to the actual pronouns, the Lao pronouns. Okay, so in Lao there are several types of pronouns, and in this lesson we're going to focus just on the subject and object pronouns. Now for us, it's good because the subject and object pronouns are both the same. Okay, so in English they're separated into different groups, but in Lao we would use the same words whether it's an object or a subject of a phrase or a sentence. Okay, and it'll become easier as you see the application. So in English, here are the subject pronouns. We have I, you, he, she, it, we, you, and you all, rather, and they. Okay, and then for the object pronouns, we have me, you, him, her, it, us, you all, and them. Okay, so we have two different groups. Okay, and in Lao, we will put those two groups together. So we have I and me, you and you. So this is subject and object. He and him, she and her, it and it, we and us, you all, they and them, and those and them. Okay, so that's the neuter. Now in English, it is referred to as neuter gender, so neither female or male. When we say it, sometimes we're referring to an object, or we might even be referring to an animal, but in that, when we're using the word it doesn't matter whether it's male or female. We're just referring to the animal itself. Okay, so the elephant. We don't say necessarily the male elephant. When we're saying it, we don't say the male it or the female it. We just say it. Okay, we may initially refer to the mama elephant, but when we're using the pronoun to refer back to the elephant again in the rest of that sentence, we just use it. Okay, so it's considered neuter or neutral gender. Okay, so to simplify that, we have just these basic pronouns, and this is what we're going to focus on in Lao. Okay? Okay, so first we're going to look at the singular personal pronouns. Okay? So for I or me, the pronoun that we would use is koi. Koi. So we've heard this word koi, and it's generally used with family, guests, friends, peers, okay? So people that you have a familiar relationship with, and not normally used with older relatives, okay? There's a more respectful way to refer to yourself. We're going to learn that in a moment. As I or me. So, but this is a familiar way of referring to yourself with your peers or people that you know well, people that are kind of like your equal, okay? And we know this in koi sabai, right? Koi sabai di, right? Okay, so I am fine. Okay, I am well. Okay, so koi is I or me. The next personal pronoun is the formal way, the respectful way of referring to yourself as I or me. And it's also an endearing term used with older persons, older relatives, okay? People in authority, this is how you would refer to yourself as I or me. How, okay? So how is I or me in a formal way, a very respectful way of referring to yourself. Next, we have a familiar way of referring to a person as you. And again, this is family, guests, friends, people that are not your older relatives, someone that's not in a position of authority over you, okay? There's a respectful way of referring to yourself, referring to the other person as you, okay? So, but this is the familiar form of you, and it's jiao. Jiao. All right? You. Jiao. Okay. Now here is the very respectful way of referring to the person as you. This is also how you refer to a person if they are listening to you as an audience, or a teacher, a stranger, older person. It's also a way of saying sir or Mr. or Miss or Mrs. Okay, so sometimes in English when we talking to a police officer or a judge, we will say, I saw what happened, sir. Excuse me, sir, right? Do you know what time it is, sir? Miss? Excuse me, miss, do you know what time it is? Okay, so this would be a way that you refer to a person as miss, or in that respectful tone, as if you're saying sir, or refer to the person as sir. This is the way of saying you, and it's tan. Tan. You. In a formal way. Okay, now we have he, him, she, or her. And the word is Lao, just like the language name, Lao. Okay, so now this is a common way of referring to he or him, she or her. You'll also see this in the Bible. In the older Bible, you will see a different word for a reference to female gender before her name, like matriarch of the family, like Sarah or Rebecca or Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel. Okay, they were matriarchs of their family. So you'll see another word referenced for her, but for the most part, this is the common way that you will see, especially in the New World version, the newer Christian Greek scriptures, you'll see Lao for him or her or he or she. Okay? And this is a familiar reference to he or him or she or her. So, meaning that you know the person. Okay? Now there is a formal way of saying him, a very formal way to address a gentleman as him or a man as him, and it's kao. Kao. Okay, short and sweet. Kao. All right. Okay. So now we have the word for this neuter, it. All right, and it's man. Man. Not man, but it's man. And it's short and quick. Man. Okay. And it is, from what I've learned, it's impolite to use this in reference to people. This is a pronoun that I mentioned, depending on your attitude toward the person or the thing that you're referencing, a certain pronoun might be used. So sometimes people might use this word in Lao as an insult, referring to a person as it. And also in the Bible, you will find that this word, man, is used specifically in reference to the devil. So, man. So you would not want to use this in reference to people, calling them it. But in Lao in general, you also find this as a word to refer to animals or things sometimes as well. Okay, so man is the word for it. Now we're going to go into the plural personal pronouns, and the first one is understanding how to pluralize a pronoun. So in English, we say I or me for singular, and then we say we or us for plural of that first person plural. But in Lao, to pluralize a pronoun, we're going to use the same ones that we learned in the singular format, but we're going to put this word in front of it, and this is going to make it plural. Puak. Puak. Okay? Puak. And it refers to when there's more than one person or when there's a group. Okay? So, as it was said to me, think of this puak as many. Okay? So, many of me, or many of you, many of he, or many of she. And then when we're thinking of many, we'll use the word that refers to the plural form of that reference. So, many of me. Okay? Many of you. Okay? Many of he or she. We learned those words. Koi, jiao, tan, lao, kao, and man. Okay? So many of those become the plural version. Okay? So let's see how that works. Okay, so first person's plural is we or us. And so it would be puak hao. Puak hao. Okay? So this is when there's a group of people that you are included in. So that's we or us, right? So puak hao would be we or us. Now this is a common way to refer to we or us as a group, but then there's another way to refer to we or us as a group, and you might see this also in the Bible. Sometimes you'll see puak hao, and then sometimes you'll just see how. Okay? Now, a few minutes ago we learned that how can be used as I or me in a very respectful way, and that is true. It can also be used as we or us, as a standalone word, how, we or us, okay? And the context of what's being stated in the phrase or the sentence will let you know how many people are being referred to. Okay? The next one is you, plural, or you all, second person plural. You as a group, or you all, or if you're in the South, you say y'all. Okay? So, puak chow, puak chow, puak chow. Okay? This is you or you all as a group. Okay? And is commonly used when referring to a group of you with your peers. Okay? Again, it's a group of your peers as you all. Chow. Chow is the familiar way of saying you. So to say all of you or you all, a familiar group that you know, it would be puak chow. Puak chow. So a group of people that you do not know that you're referring to as you. Okay, this is a formal way of saying you. Puak tan. Puak tan. And this is a very respectful way. It's used in writing, so like in the Bible, you might find puak tan. It's used with an audience. So at the hall, you may find when they're starting the meeting, they refer to the audience as, when they say you, we encourage you to take your seats. Puak tan would be reference to the audience. It's a formal way of addressing a group of people that you know, it's a formal way of addressing people. And generally in that audience, there's going to be people that you do not know. Okay? So, it's also, again, when we're referring to sir or miss, people that we don't know well, but they're in a place of authority, or respectfully referring to officials or teachers, older ones, we would say as a group of them, referring to them as you or you all, puak tan. Okay, then there's a way of referring to they. Okay, so many of he or she, right, in a formal way. Remember that? So it was cow, he or she, but now we have puak cow. So puak cow. Now, earlier we learned puak how, but now we're learning puak cow. Okay? Puak cow. Okay? The other one was puak how with an H at the beginning. Okay, but this is puak cow. Cow. So this refers to they or them. Okay? Puak cow. And it's referring to a group of other people that does not include you. Now here's another way of referring to they or them, just the word cow by itself. Cow. Okay? So we have puak how, which is we or us. Then we also have that it can stand alone as just how. Then we had puak cow, and this one can stand alone as cow as well, for they or them. Okay? And again, the context will let you know how many people are being referred to, whether it's a he as cow, he or she, or they or them. Okay? And then the plural of it, third person plural, it, the neuter is puak man. So it, they, right? Puak man, it. There's more than one of them, of it. So many bottles on the table, puak man, puak man. Okay? It, more than one it. But again, impolite to use for people, so do not use this for people, because again, in the Bible, you will find that puak man is a word that's reference to the demons. So you don't want to use this with people. Animals, okay. Things, okay, but not people. Is very impolite. Okay, so now we're going to have a practice of personal pronouns. All right, so we're going to use the word bai, to go. All right, and that's the verb we're going to use. So we're going to say I go, or you go, or they go, or we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So how would you say I go, the familiar I? You remember what the familiar I is? You use this with your peers or people that you know well. Koi, bai, right? Koi, bai. All right, I go. How about the formal way, the endearing way? If you're talking to your grandmother, very much older than you, or an official, I go. Okay, talking to someone that you don't know well. Do you remember how to say I in a formal way? How bai, okay? How about you go in a familiar way? People that you know, your peers, your friends, your guests. You go, as in you, a singular you, one person you. Jiao bai, you go. Okay, so you, singular, go. Jiao bai. How about a formal you, in a way of telling a police officer, a judge, you go, you go. Tan bai, okay, tan bai. Okay, how about he or she goes, familiar, the common way of saying he or she goes. Lao bai, okay. How about it goes, the animal, it goes. Man bai, okay, it goes. And again, we're not going to use this with people. Man bai, okay. How about we go, the common familiar way, using our pluralizing word puak. Okay, so we go, that was your hint, using puak. Puak hao bai, okay, that's we, puak hao, we. How about the other way of saying we go? We go without using puak. That's your hint, without using puak. How do you say we go? Hao bai, okay, just take the puak off of puak hao, and you've got hao bai. How about you all go? You all go, the familiar you all go, the common one. Puak chao bai, okay, puak chao bai, okay. How about the formal you all go? Formal you all go. Puak tan bai, okay. Tan, that's that formal you. Puak tan is you all in a formal way. Okay, respectfully to the audience, okay, to the group of people that you don't know so well, okay, may include some strangers, okay, puak tan. How about they go, using puak. They go. Remember the word for they? Puak kao bai. Okay? And again, puak kao, not puak hao like we go, puak kao. So you have to pronounce all of those K's in there. Puak kao. Okay? How about the other way of saying they go without puak? Kao bai. Kao bai. Okay, now you may not, you may and may not see this. You may see this more in writing than you hear it in speech, but you will hear it. Okay, so kao bai. And they will understand what you mean, especially with the context. If you're referring to a group of people and you say kao bai, they'll understand you mean they go. How about they as in many its? Many its go. They, many its. Those bottles of medicine, they are on the table. Okay, they go. Okay, so now we're using the word go with it, the verb go, so they go. Puak man, bai. Puak man, bai. Okay, puak man for they. A bunch of its. Okay, now again, this word is used in reference to the demons in the Bible. So again, we're not going to use this with people, but we can use it with animals and other things. Okay, puak man, as in many of them. Okay, Delai, very good. So be sure to download the practice sheet. In the practice sheet, you have all of these personal pronouns, the list of them. You also have the Lao spelling, the Lao script version of the words, so that you can begin practicing. And again, it's going to become very handy when you start learning the vowels. Okay, so but you have it in the English phonetics, so that you can know what the word is, and then you also have the translation, the English translation. So download those, feel free to download those practice sheets so that you can begin practicing your personal pronouns, okay? And we will see you in the next video.